Hey everyone, welcome to Improv Informer. I'm your host, Anthony Francis. Today is Thursday, August 6th, 2020, and I am very excited. My very special guest, San Diego-based improviser and creator of the Vulnerable Improv Workout, Vanessa Anton. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. So you're originally from Miami, but you live out in San Diego now.
Yes.
You mentioned Just the Funny when we were off air. What
Yes.
but you didn't start doing improv in Miami, did you?
Correct. No, I grew up there. So I moved out of Miami when I was like 18, 19. I won't tell you how many years I live here. No, just kidding. I'm older than I look, but I mostly spent my high school, my school age years in Miami. I did 1 year at Florida State, then came back and went to Wolfson campus and took some classes there. But I was all of my college stuff and high school stuff was theater. So theater was like my jam. But I was always afraid of improv type stuff because I was more like the written stuff and the memorization. Like improv is scary. So I didn't really know a lot about it back then.
Well, when did you get bit by that improv bug?
It was about, and then I majored in theater when I came out here and finished that. But I was like stage manager, so everything was scheduled. Everything was in a prompt book. So improv is liberating. But it was about 11-ish years ago. And I was going through a divorce, and I hadn't really done a lot of theater stuff or anything like that in so long. And I was just like, reinvent myself or whatever, which is like the classic story. And so it was like, I was thinking of belly dancing classes, but then I took improv. So
oh my God, our stories are so similar.
It's belly dancing?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's like belly dancing, improv, belly dancing. I flipped a coin and here I am.
Yeah. So.
Cool. So what was your first experience like with improv?
I signed up and I was like, oh my God, like everyone is when they take their first class. And it'd been a really hard time and I'd been really sad. It was a rough, where you're just like treading water to get through each day or whatever. And it's like hard, all that when you're going through a hard life thing. And I just remember in that class, and it was a short form based theater. So I had no idea about long form and things like that at that time. I just knew that I had not laughed so much in so long. And it was just like so amazing. I was just in a room with strangers laughing so hard, like uncontrollably. And I just hadn't felt like that in so long. So I got hooked on the silliness. And then I really didn't stop. I finished the classes and then there wasn't a lot happening in San Diego at that time. So you had to kind of like dig around for like, who's doing improv, where's their team and where. So yeah, I had to do a little bit of that.
Great. And you're you work in HR. So
I do.
How's the HR world going in general?
It's fine. I work for a university, and luckily through the university, I've also ended up teaching for an extension course, teaching improv. So I do that, but that's been kind of a little bit on hold right now because of COVID. But normally I teach an improv class every quarter. So it's great that I can work during the day and then go to to do that. But yeah, I started HR work at the university like 14 years ago. Before that, I was a zoo tour guide. And I thought, I need a job with benefits that's reliable. And so I've been there ever since.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's benefits. That's always something we want to go for.
Yeah, and I have them now and I have a job. Like I've wanted to leave and like travel the world so many times and be like, I'm gonna go teach improv abroad and I'm gonna do this and that, and then all of a sudden the universe is like, nope.
I had a similar thing this year where I was going to attack it real hard and I wanted to travel around, and yeah, that just that happened. Now I saw you did have a tour, but is that what got canceled? You were going to do a little bit of an improv tour?
Well, I did. I actually I really was sort of like, I didn't have a lot planned yet for 2020. I feel like 2019, like last few years, were very busy with stuff. And so I got to do everything. I did want to go back to England this year. And there were other things that I was applying for and things that got canceled. But there wasn't any major things that I had scheduled. So it was like, I'll go out to England and see my friend David Escobedo. And I'd gone out there last year and taught some workshops in a few different cities. And so we're like, let's come back. So I was going to go back, but I didn't know when. And then as things just changed for 2020, it was like, well, we're not going to worry about that right now. So I did get to do some other stuff. I did Ireland in December, their festival, which they do usually in the late fall, and taught a couple workshops there. And I'm so thankful that I did that.
How is improv in Ireland compare to improv in the US?
It's, I feel like it depends, but I feel like in some ways, Europe in general and Ireland, maybe some parts, takes a little, they're a little more risky. Like they get a little more saucy. And
Okay.
maybe, whereas like, I feel like in some of the places I'll play here, it's like, oh, we shouldn't say that. We shouldn't do that. Like that's going to be, although there's a lot of people out there that are very mindful of people and very mindful of what they're doing. There's more like, maybe that it's like, I don't want to say like curvy, or maybe it's like twisted minds a little bit. There's going to be some more stuff that comes out, maybe more than you'd see in our stages here, because we're like trying hard to be like not upset the audience or not. It depends on the place in the US, but I noticed like they're more gutsy out there with some of that, with topics and stuff. They're, but still like super witty and super fun.
Style wise, I'm sorry.
Oh, delightful. Style wise, they lots of forms, just like we would do here. Oh, just hilarious. I love Ireland so much. It was my third time going in December, and so there's some people I've seen over the visits, and just really amazing, talented folks out there.
I'm just amazed at the I feel like that's sort of a thing that's, I know it's been around for a while, but for me it's new to see that the UK has such a strong improv experience, and and now Ireland. And I know a few years ago, a student of mine, she left and went to the Czech Republic, and there was improv there, and so they have a festival, and everyone like sleeps over, like it's like they spend the night like sleeping on the floor, like it's like a lock-in kind of a thing. Really interesting. So it's nice to see improv is just all over the place, and worldwide. It's not just a US thing or anything like that. It's a worldwide thing.
Yeah, and during this time, I sort of have been like, who cares about the classes in the States? I want to like go overseas and see what's going on, while I can take advantage of like online courses being, I can find classes from Barcelona, I can, from London on my computer instead of flying there since I can't. And it's wild. The world stage, or whatever you want to call it, with improv is pretty incredible.
All these Zoom jams that have been popping up are wonderful, because it's a chance to play. I've got to play with a lot of people from Chicago. There's a Thursday night Chicago Improv Theater jam with Chris George and Will Arnett, and it's so great to be able to be a part of that, because that's something I've always wanted to do, and now I get to play with those guys, and it's just amazing.
Bill's so nice.
He's so nice.
Too.
What's that?
Did you know he's from Florida?
Is he from Florida originally?
Yeah, we had a conversation at camp. Both of us are a very similar age group, and we were both in college around the same time, and we had some similarities in like the music scene. Like he was at UF and I was at Florida State. I think he was at UF. Yes. And so, I believe he's from Orlando.
Oh, I think I remember him saying that.
Like he was there in school in like the 90s, like I was. So I was like, what?
Nice.
Yeah, he's great.
You mentioned camp just now. So you've done a lot of the, Nick Armstrong runs Improv Utopia, and another great improv teacher who I'm taking his sketch classes right now. I'm in level 2. It's great to be able to do that. You did his Improv Utopia things, and you've done a lot of those. What is it like? What's Improv Utopia like? And you were a counselor there. What was that like?
Oh yeah, so it's amazing. And I went, I think the third year that it existed, and it was only in one location at that time in Central California. And I just remember being like, this is my dream come true. Go to a place with just other people obsessed with the same thing. And I was just like, but I remember making a joke and being like, everyone here has beards and plaid shirts. this is the improv look. But I just remember being so in awe of being around 100 other people that were obsessed with it. And I feel like after that, I was just like, I wanted to look into everything, whether it was like festivals or, I started learning more, taking classes in LA and commuting and doing that. And yeah, then I just wanted to go to every location they started. So then they started the East Camp in Pennsylvania. Then they started Ireland Camp, or no, I think Yosemite came first, and I went to that one, and then Ireland. And I was like, I need to go to all of them. So I think I've been to 7. Some people have done way more than me, but I was also doing other things like classes in Chicago. So I wanted to like balance out. There's so much.
There's a lot to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's partially why we exist, because I was like, there's so much going on. Like even now, there's so much to do, and there's going to be so much to do, when this is over, that we want to get out there and let people know about it. I want to know about it. It's such a great chance to meet all these different people and get a chance to sit down and talk with everyone. It's funny how if I called you on the phone, it might be weird, but because we're doing it over video, it's fine.
Yeah,
you might not be upset with that. You might be cool with a phone call. Most people are. I love a phone call.
I was actually really glad when I was like, I wonder if we're going to chat on the phone, and you're like, I'm sending a link, and I was like, sweet. There's something about just like, I don't know what it is. So I put on some blush and a lipstick. I'm like, first person.
I shaved today. I got rid of
it looks very good.
This becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I want to know, so I love to do what I was doing before the end times, in the before times, I was doing team building workshops for companies. So you're in HR, and do you have any advice for someone who wants to bring improv to the workplace? Do you see that as even a viable thing? Like, what is your opinion on bringing in a team building or using improv in team building for your company or for a company?
I think it's an amazing thing. I think, first of all, I think a lot of people don't want to do it, and mostly like the employees that are like, no. So there's that. But I feel like, and I work for university, so these decisions are made at like, the central HR level, and then they'll have these, they do have like different workshops, like laughter and different things like that. I think it's an amazing thing to try to bring people together that might just be stuck in their comfort zones, and bringing them out and connecting a little more. I think it's totally important and totally valuable. And I know that the university values and embraces that kind of stuff. So there are a lot of different programs and things related to that. And I think that's amazing that you do that. And I've wanted to do more like that myself. Like, I'm always like, can I teach students improv? And I've done some improv. I've run a workshop with our undocumented student department. What is it? Undocumented Student Services Center. And it was so fun. And like a year later, I'd see the students and they'd be like, oh, they'd like redo an exercise. Like, I'm so-and-so, and
from like a year ago, they still remember it.
Like you do like a name exercise, and it's like, I'm silly Sam or whatever. They'd be like, they do the same thing they did that workshop. I think it's important, and people remember it.
I love doing it. That. Yeah, it's such a wonderful thing, and I've been fortunate enough to do it with some big companies down here, and the Girl Scouts of South Florida.
That's awesome.
They loved it. We had a really good time.
I was a Girl Scout.
Was that Girl Scout?
I was a Girl Scout in Miami, and a Brownie and a Girl Scout. Oh, I would have loved that, because I used to write plays and get my little theater badge.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, they were just like the most energetic, wonderful, positive people I've ever met outside of the improv community. But they're now improvisers, so it's fine.
Yeah, the Girl Scouts grow up. Yeah. And then
I actually have... I have it on. I keep it up on my desk here just to share. I don't want to make it about me, but I met Lisa, who's the head of the South Florida Girl Scouts of South Florida. So I got a badge. So this is my Girl Scout badge. I met Lisa.
That's so cool.
Yeah. See, is it the Girl Scouts of South Florida CEO? So more badges than I ever got as a Cub Scout. Anyway. So you did UCB in Los Angeles.
I did. I
What
did it.
was
It
that
took
all
me.
about? What's that like for a local guy? I'm Florida raised. Improv. I learned improv from books and local teachers and the occasional traveling improv teacher. What what is it? What did you get out of UCB?
It's interesting. I'm not a big, so their big thing is game, and so your fourth, you take the 101, 201, 301, 401, and I chose UCB because at some point I wanted to move to New York, and I was like, then I'll just finish classes in New York, whatever. And I there, you end with the 401 and do the Herald and like the game, and like it's really big in the pattern of the game. And I feel like sometimes I'm more of an organic kind of like feely person, so I had a little bit of a hard time with like really heady stuff. And so I struggled a little bit, but I would do it, go up on the weekends. It was like a 2.5 hour drive. Sometimes it was a whole weekend. I'd take the dog, stay at my family. I had a family, my aunt and uncle up there in like near LA. I'd stay up there. It was like a whole thing. And sometimes by like week 5 of like going up to LA, because there's always traffic, no matter what time of year, what day, what time of day. And it was just exhausted. I'd always have like a nervous breakdown like by week 4 or 5 because I'd be so exhausted from working all week,
Oh God,
going
yeah.
and then trying to do your improv practices and such like at home, and trying to do your shows and trying to do whatever, and then having that. But I loved my first class up there. I just loved it. And it was before they have like one, I don't know what's going on with UCB LA. I haven't looked it up, but I know New York has had some closures. But they built the new center in LA. But when I was going up there, it was like they were renting out the smaller spaces, like a black box down on Santa Monica or whatever. And so you'd go, there wasn't even like a bathroom. Like, so after driving so much, I'd be like, you have to wait to get in the classroom, use that. But I just remember being in the black box space and being with like other LA people, and a lot of them like actors and comedians, and being like, oh my God, I'm here. This is like where improv is. And I was just going to do the one class, and I was like, I'm going to take all of them. I'm going to finish. But it took me like 4 years.
Right.
Exhausting. But
Isn't
I
that
loved
great?
seeing the shows, and it was just so cool being up there. Like, it just felt like, I mean, aside from being like in Chicago or New York, it was just like, this is where it is. And I was still like learning about improv, and so it was fun. And I loved my first teacher, and so I would see him on like Parks and Rec sometimes and be like, ah. And my second one was on shows too. The singing one, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I would see him on that, and I liked those two a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yeah,
remember like being at the the ETC stage in Second City in New York, and it was just it's like you're in the backstage area. It's like a hole in the wall kind of a thing. You're like, I'm here. I'm
yeah.
actually here. Like like it's
It's such an amazing feeling. You just feel like the walls. And then they built the new space, which it was like very university like you had nice bathrooms and you could check in, and there was a lobby, and it was but the classrooms, it didn't feel like artistic. It just felt like small. They were nice, and it was air conditioned. Like some of the places I'd go were really hot before, but they felt like you were doing art in these like
yeah.
dilapidated black box spaces, and you could hear like the sirens through the air, like, and it just, you felt creative. And then once the center, it was lovely, and the coffee shop was really delightful, and you could valet park your car, and it was nice to like hang out and
I
go
mean,
to
if
the
you don't
bathroom.
have to walk through a restaurant kitchen to get to your improv class, are you really at an improv class? Like,
I
yeah.
know. So it's interesting watching it change, even, and that was just a small slice. I mean, it had been going on for so much longer. So that was my little entrance into that world.
That's great. Did you?
Yeah.
So you said you're doing Sunday Zooms with your old team. What are the Sunday Zooms that you're doing? Where
Oh
can we
yeah.
watch that? What is that?
This is just, so we were talking about, you mentioned Thursday night with Chris George, and Bill Arnett, who are delightful humans. Chris George was a San Diego resident. So he was not from here originally, but then lived here. And so our improv, as San Diego was like growing, he was part of it, I was part of it, and we came together. Sorry, there's a car alarm outside.
It's fine.
Okay, it stopped. No, it didn't. And so we sort of like merged into having a team together, like one of the main teams at the theater, Final City Improv, that we were both at the time. And so it's just a little like sort of reunion Sundays where whoever's available jumps on Zoom and says hi. And people are like all over the country at this point because it was so many years ago. But that was a team that was like when you watch the shows at the theater, you wanted to be on that team because it was like all sort of the more advanced people or the teachers. And it was the Armando team, and they did these great interviews. And so when I got to be on it, and then I remember I coached them because they needed a coach, and I was like, why am I the coach? I barely know improv. But and then I got to be on it, and it was really fun, and I learned so much. And then when I went out to Chicago to take an annoyance intensive, I bunked with Chris, thankfully, and that was my first Chicago experience because he is now there. And
I really want to do the annoyance. I was going to do the summer intensive. That was another thing I was going to do, but that was ruined, and I had to return my plane ticket. That's how ruined it was. I had to I was like that close. But what was that like? How was the annoyance intensive out there?
Oh, okay. So I did that. I did a beginning one, and then they added a level 2 intensive, which I did 2 years later. I was really terrified because growing up, or whatever, growing into improv and learning about improv, it was like the annoyance has no rules. They're like, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. What if they're like mean or aggressive? I don't know what I thought as a young, I mean, I was so afraid. And the first intensive, I think it was like getting rid of that rules feeling and just going out on the stage and doing something without first seeing what the other person is doing and having your own thing. And I was always like, well, I want to see what they're doing and like feel it and like make my choices. So it is a very independent, get out there, make a choice. It was like, I don't know what I want to do, but you had to really commit to, and so it made me stronger. And then the second one was last year, and that one was tough. They really, there's a teacher named Jimmy Pennington, and he was tough. And you'd be like, what are you doing? But he was good. He called out a lot of necessary things. Like, he's just very strong at not letting terrible things happen, especially within society and political injustice and all that kind of stuff and how women are treated. And, but he'll question if he doesn't know what the heck you're doing. He's like, what is that? You know? And so I'm like, oh God, my soul. So it was challenging, but I love that theater. They're like the underdogs theater. They fight for people. They'll have your back if something's wrong. They just don't let shit fly. I love that space.
That's great.
So I hope that they can get through this okay. I see their emails and they're like, don't sign the Save Our Stages thing. So I've signed, and I want to sign up for a class, but I don't. Yeah. So I just hope they'll be okay.
I think if I have to, or if I can't go out there physically, the next step for me is to sign up for an online class through them. Yeah. Absolutely. Because now's the chance, if you're an improviser out there watching this or listening to this, we have a really great opportunity to reach the people we couldn't reach before and or easily access them because they're all forced to do these online classes, which they weren't before. Right. So now you can, I think that's a really good.
And if you want to help them by taking a class and just, I'm sure like one little $25 workshop isn't super helping, but it feels like to me, if I'm getting them, like at least I put some money into it and an organization that needs some help.
Absolutely. So, what does improv feel like for you?
It feels like so many things. It depends too. I think it feels like whatever's happening for you deep inside. So like if things are feeling great and you bring that energy to what you're doing, and then the improv is amazing. And if you're really connecting with people, if you're feeling down on yourself and having a super low insecure time, then that can come out, and then improv can feel like the bad guy, but it's really kind of what we're working through inside. And and also too the way other people affect us. So if we've got someone with because there's some weird eggs in improv, and so yeah, right. And it's like there's the new people that are people that maybe don't understand, that you have to have patience with, but then there's people that are like, they're taking their stuff out on you, whatever issues, and you're just like, and if you don't give yourself that space to understand, it can just eat you alive. So that's important.
That's a great thing you're saying. The space to understand, I think, is something I always try to think about. Like, am I being as understanding? I need to really think about it. Like, it's not about me. There's so much going on in this person's life. Yeah. Like, as a teacher, and you teach improv as well. As an improv teacher, what does teaching improv feel like?
So I actually, since we talked about David Escobedo, he did an interview recently with Aretha Sills, which is amazing. And she talked about, I'm totally paraphrasing, I wrote it down somewhere because it was amazing. She talked about how being a teacher was more of facilitating the art for these folks. So we're not really like, because this is out there, we're just bringing it to them and letting them experience it and creating that space for the experience for them. So I paraphrase, but it was something like that. Like, it's their journey and you're just there to guide them on it. And I feel like that's what it is for me, is especially the university courses where people come in and they're like, I don't know, some of them are professors or grad students or people with jobs, adults or whatever. And they'll come in and be like, what is this? And then they, like, week 8, and they're like, oh my God, I just feel like there's like this opening, and they've challenged themselves, and it's hard to explain to someone until they experience it. It's this like journey of self.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, and that's so true about professionals who have I think, well, I was talking to someone recently, I want to say I think it was when I was talking to David Escobedo, who, by the way,
that guy.
If David Escobedo and Will Luera know each other, then that means everyone in the improv community knows each other. Because apparently everybody knows David Escobedo. Everybody knows Will Luera. And I'm like, do these two know each other? Because if they don't, if they connect, that's it. I don't know. But if they do, everyone will know everybody, at least by one degree.
And they're both such stupendous people. Is stupendous? That's the I haven't said that word in
That's
like
a great
years.
word. That's a great word to describe both of them. They're both stupendous people.
What does stupendous even mean? I don't know, but good. I mean, fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, fantastic, stupendous.
Yeah, they're delights. They're both very great people.
So you teach, you perform. What's your favorite type of improv to do?
So I would say, gosh, it's changed over the years. And really, I think whatever I end up doing more of, that becomes my favorite. Like when I was on our Armando team, I was like, this is my favorite. I want to do this all the time. And then I was on a mono sing team, and I was like, this is my favorite. I want to do this all the time. In a duo team. I think I like slow burn improv. Is that what that's called? Where you just do like a slice of life, kind of real, where you get to explore a little bit. I also
TJ and Dave kind of a.
I love that. Yeah. I love that, where you can just really feel like relate to life things.
The first 5 minutes is just inbound passes, just like, how you doing? Great. What are you eating? Sandwich. Like whatever. Like just not even. Just like super relaxed. Cool. Yeah.
I also love being really silly and weird. And so if something starts where the energy is like, we might not say anything. I did a scene with Jay Suka, one of the 10 minutes. He's online with the entire, like everyone in the world. But, and we ended up not talking the whole time. It just became a silent scene.
I love a good
and silent scene. I love falling into something that, are we going to do weird dance moves for a few minutes and just like make coffee? Like, what is that? Like, I'm open to following some weird stuff and follow the fun. Somebody said that. Who was it? Yeah, so I guess I'm open, but I guess organic is fun for me too. But I liked Armando, which is I like hearing people's monologues and getting people's stories.
You sound like you like it all.
You
sound like you like it all, and you don't care what shape it comes in. You're gonna do it.
I feel like I don't do a lot of pop culture ones. Like, I'm not a very good, like, and I respect these because but like, a lot of like comic book stuff or whatever, like, I don't know a lot about stuff like that. So I don't jump into like costumes and all that stuff, although it's fun.
What are you a geek about though? What do you geek out about?
Um, I don't really have like, well, I was just talking, and some people are going to hate me for this if they hate it, but I was just talking this morning about Gilmore Girls because a memory came up on my Facebook of a time when Keiko was in San Diego, and I interviewed her. She was one of the characters on Gilmore Girls, and she does improv in LA. And so that popped up, and I was like, oh my God. So kind of a geek about that. And she was 27 years old playing a 16-year-old on the show. She's a delight. But it's not like I'm like that now. Like, I watched that show, but I would sit down on a weekend and watch like a marathon of it for old time's sake.
If it was on, you would just watch it.
Plants and dogs.
Grow plants?
Yeah, I've just been, because of COVID, I've been ODing on plants a little in my condo.
I've been planting too. I've got a timer now, a watering timer I got from a friend of mine. That is the difference between brown plants and green plants.
Yeah.
If you can get a little timer, it goes off for 1 minute every day and just waters the plant. I got basil to the sky.
Oh, and it's all outside, like in boxes?
It's all outside.
Oh, that's so cool. I have a tiny patio, so most of mine are indoor. And since I'm working at home, I get up and I walk around. I look at everybody like 25 times a day, and I'm like, how you doing? What do you need? It's ridiculous. And I have succulents out in the patio.
I have one indoor plant, my aloe plant, which you can't see. It's behind me, behind this curtain. Her name is Hope, and I've had Hope for over a year. And I would say, I got her in April of last year, so she's a year and a couple of months, and she's growing all over the place.
Like skin stuff?
Yeah, aloe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would never. My wife was like, I had gotten a terrible sunburn. I was outside for way too long, and I'm a Floridian, so I'm a Floriner. But I've been here most of my life, and I was just like, I'll be fine. But like, I burned on my hands, which has never happened. She's like, use the aloe from your. I'm like, I'm not ripping Hope's arms off. That's not.
I know we have her for that, but
no, that's my plant. That's not. We have aloe in a jar. I'll use that aloe.
That's hilarious. I love it. I would probably do the same. It's like when you don't want to use something even though you have it. I get that. Yeah. That's funny.
So plants and dogs. So dogs, you say?
I had a dog for many years, but I don't anymore. But I love them so much.
Favorite type of dog?
It was a pug chihuahua mix.
Pug chihuahua?
Yeah.
That's like a wrinkle with legs.
It's not a very good picture, but this was, here he is looking at me. That's on my, 14 and a half years. It's a good kid. But I haven't, I can't imagine waking up early to take him out.
No, to go.
So long. And then at night before bed, I live in a condo. So yeah, what else am I a geek about? I know there's other things, shoes. Like, I feel like it's more like items and less about like
shoes. What are we talking? Rocket Dog, Chinese laundry? What are you into?
Ooh, I used to love Rocket Dog. Oh, that's so funny. Chinese laundry. You feel like your wife. Is this like your wife's shoes, or do you like these shoes?
I sold women's shoes for like a month for Nordstrom.
That's amazing. Yeah. Oh, Nordstrom. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna show you. I know we're not talking about improv right now, but I don't.
That's fine.
So I got these. Hold on. Nordstrom.
While she's on her way getting her shoes, I would like to tell everyone to go check out VanessaAnton.com. You can check out all her stuff. Oh, look at those.
Yeah, nice. Doc Martens with a dragon. I'm the year of the dragon, and I saw these on Nordstrom Rack at advertised, and I was like, I need those right now.
That's great.
These aren't going to get worn. Like, how am I going to wear these to go check the mail? Like they're stiff as freaking. But I love, these would be like perfect improv show shoes.
Yeah. Oh, those are great. Plus Doc Martens, they're anyone who knows about Doc Martens, they see Doc Martens, they're like Doc Martens. It's like Birkenstocks.
I got a pair from Nordstrom this year too.
I had my Birkenstocks for 16 years. I got them in a Birkenstock store. I wore them. You don't need to get new Birkenstocks. You don't need to.
Yeah.
You don't need to. Like, and I wore them all the time. Like, you just don't. And they form to your feet, and they're the greatest sandal of all time.
Yeah. I got my first pair in high school when I was in Miami, and my mom took me to the falls which is down like south a little bit in Miami. And I'd saved my coins. I'd saved like lunch money. They were like $80, these Birkenstocks.
Yep.
And I bought these Birkenstocks, and they weren't very popular at the time, but I remember seeing people in California because I'd come out and visit my family. And people were like, "You look like Jesus." Like, I don't care. And then like a year or two later, I feel like, just in Miami, I feel like Miami was a little bit too hip for Birkenstocks. It was like too like hippie slow-mo for the people in my school at the time.
I don't know if Birkenstocks have ever been super cool, except for those of us who like them.
Yeah. I just want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Fun story.
It's good to talk about. It's good stuff. So where can people see you now? Are you doing any performing online? Is there any way that we can watch you perform, do some improv?
So, also I'll mention, I feel like I haven't talked about them, but they're on hiatus right now, but I currently am with Cornerstone Improv, and I'm one of the board of directors, but it's a nonprofit improv organization in San Diego that a couple of friends of mine created, and then I joined them, and we have like inclusion scholarships and stuff like that. But one of them's a teacher and one of them's a dad, and they're just like kind of not, it's like hiatusville for Cornerstone right now, so it's kind of quiet. So I'm venturing off on my own because I just want to stay connected. And I've been doing more taking classes than anything.
Taking this time to be a student again rather than perform. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. And so I've taken a lot of classes at the nursery in London. I also just joined the Improv Place, which is operated by Katie Shute and Chris Mead. I don't know if you've heard about that yet. There's a membership fee, so some people are like, "Oh, that's not cool." So there's
what do you get? What do you get for the membership fee?
I think there's different like attitudes about it, because I've seen some comments on Facebook. But I was like, you know what? I'm giving artists money. I'm okay. Like, I just didn't even give it a second thought. So there's daily conversations. They have classes. So I'm taking a teaching course through them right now, just to kind of like revitalize that in me, because I feel like with COVID, it's been kind of, and it's at 1 a.m. tonight for me. It's 9 a.m. in London. So that's the hard part.
So wait, the class starts at 1 a.m.?
For me, it's 9 a.m. in London.
That's like me with my sketch class with Nick Armstrong. It ends at midnight for me.
Yeah.
So it starts at 9 p.m. for me, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And then the next day you're like, oh. So last week I did it, and Friday it just was like I was on the red eye. Like, I was so tired. But it's so cool, all these discussions, and there's people from all over the world in it. So they have some really neat classes they'll offer, and then you can sign up. So there's a 6-pack of classes coming up, and I picked one of them after that from this woman, Imbal. I'm not going to say her name right. Imbalori, I think it's her name. And
sounds right to me.
And I believe she's Israeli, and she lives in Germany, and she seems amazing. So I'm taking her class. And there's discussions, like regular discussions, and it just feels like you're a little bit more connected. So I don't know. I'm still figuring it out, but yeah. And then I've just been playing with friends in the UK, like in jams. There's a women jam that my friend Emma created. That's once a month. And I'm playing, I think tomorrow night. I have to get with the Torch Theater in Phoenix. I did a show with them on Saturday night, and they invited me to come play a little bit tomorrow night. So I'm just kind of checking in with different places and people, and just on a little online journey.
Yeah.
Right now.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, the website for you is vanessaanton.com.
Yeah.
And people can check you out there. You do coaching as well. Do you do online coaching?
I do, yeah. And I was coaching a team early on in the pandemic that they were all in classes together, and they all just wanted to play for a while. And then as the summer hit and COVID got like light, and everyone was like, we're fine now. And there was like protests and people going back out for the summer. And then everything just kind of got, but yeah. So, and then I think I'm coaching another team in September. So I feel like coaching is really fun for me and I was coaching a team like off, in regular times, coaching and teaching, but that team was like, we don't want to do Zoom. So it's like, everyone's got different, but I I loved the team I was coaching because they were all in that like intermediate improv, like some were newer, some had been doing it for a year or two, and it was so fun to like try some new things. We were having a really good time. So that is, I love working with teams, even if it's just like to guest or hang out, no commitments, because it's such a weird time, you know?
What is it? What would you tell someone who wants to be an improv coach? What's a piece of advice you might give them?
Ooh, it's such a great question. I would say, don't doubt yourself. You're the things. Let's see, the things that, and I would say this to students too, but the things that you often think are your weaknesses are usually things that people might look up to in you, or maybe there's some part of you that people are looking up to, and tap into your real strengths and your gifts and bring that. Also, there's nobody else like you. It's easy for us to be like, there's so many teachers, there's so many coaches, there's so many performers, why am I important? Well, there's nobody else like you, and you're bringing your gift and your perspective and point of view to that space, and that's important.
Just like with improv, there's a million improvisers out there, but there's only one you. Your context is everything, and even if you had someone who lived your life exactly the same way, they would turn out differently than you. So, that's great. That's great advice.
Yeah, and I have to remember that every day, because I'm always like, why? Like, I'm having a hard time like pushing myself out there, because I'm like, well, there's so much, like, so I'm just journeying through, because it's hard to live by that all the time, especially when we're in a pandemic and political stuff and uprising. Like, things are very tense, and it's hard to always be like, there's only one me. Like, sometimes it's like, yeah, we'll take that and shove it. It's hard.
True. That's true. But wonderful, and it's wonderful to get to meet you and talk to you, because you're not me, and so it's way better than talking.
And you're not me.
I
met you. We've already discussed this, but I met you a few years ago in Miami when you were doing your cruise stuff, and I was like, and you gave me a card. It is somewhere in my life, because I know, like, I've cleaned out, like, and I've been like, oh, I wonder how the cruises are going. Or Improv You stayed in my mind. Like, as soon as David and like we connected, I was like, I knew exactly what it was just from that conversation. Yeah, so good marketing.
Oh, good marketing. Well, it's
good marketing, good like I don't know, of your brand or branding. Is that the word? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I remembered Improv You.
Thank you. It's my wife, Marissa. She does everything. I just teach improv and try to perform. Yeah. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be able to tie my shoes. I almost burned the house down the other day. She's like, are you warming pizza in the oven? I'm like, I am. Yeah.
Just burning the house down. You probably would tie your shoes because you sold them.
What's that?
You would probably tie your shoes because you sold them.
Oh, yes. I can tie shoes, and I can tie other people's shoes. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, it was mostly women's shoes, but no one wants to hear about that.
But it is. So I do.
Oh, do you? What do you want to know about selling women's shoes? I would interview you
for a show and just talk to you about the shoes.
It's backbreakingly difficult. And when you work for Nordstrom, the rules are the customer is, the customer is always right. I'm actually really happy with all of the jobs I've had have helped me be a great customer service. The training you get at Nordstrom is superior. 2 weeks of training before you're ever allowed even on the floor. And there's so many things I took away from that training, even now. Like whenever I take a phone call and it's not for me, I find out who the person is and I find out what they want. And when I transfer, I hand that phone to the next person. I tell them who it is and what they want. So when they pick up the phone, they know what they're getting into. Whereas most of the time people are like, who's this? Who do you want? Okay, hang on. And then they just blind transfer to the next person. I never do that.
And that person's like,
yeah.
So Nordstrom's good. I feel like I have this love for them, especially during this, like they were looted and this and that. And they're like, we support the activism. They were still so like, and I'm like, are they really that cool?
So
I feel like they are.
Yeah, they are. There's a story that Nordstrom opened in a place where it used to be a tire store. And then, years go by, Nordstrom opens in the same location as what used to be a tire store. Well, in comes this old man and he wants to return a tire. And they're like, we're not the tire store anymore. He's like, well, I bought the tire here and I want to return the tire. So they returned and refunded him his money for the tire. True story.
Always heard that story, but I didn't know that it was because it was a tire shop. So I was like, is that a true story? But now it makes so much sense.
Yep. Heard that story was told to me in training. I will never forget it. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. Because
I'll never forget my training manager. He wore a brown suit with brown pants and a brown tie, and it was amazing. The guy was so well dressed. Still, to this day, the most well put together person I've ever seen. But
I'll tell you, I go into Nordstrom Rack, and I'm just like, it doesn't even have to be, because I can't afford everything in like real Nordstrom, but I love, like, I have like my few favorite things, and like Nordstrom Rack, I'm like, yep. So I've done a little bit of shopping during that.
Well, let's do this. We'll end our interview here, and then we'll talk for the next hour about Nordstrom, which I'm more than happy to do. But Vanessa Anton, everyone. Vanessa, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much.
And this was a delight. And you can check her out, like I said, vanessaanton.com. And
my site is okay. I just use it for information and like.
Everyone go there. Everyone go there and get her info.
It's okay.
Vanessa Anton, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time.